Okay. With your permission, I'll start, Bante.
Yes, please.
Today we will see the Sutta number 7, the Majjhima Nikaya, called as the Vatthupama Sutta. Can you see the screen? So Vatthupama Sutta, from the name we can see is a big word Vatthupama, but when we break down this word Vatthupama, it becomes Vattha, which is Vattha. It means the Sanskrit word for Vattha is Vastra, or Hindi it would be called as kapde, and English it would be called as cloth. And the other word is upama. So upma is like a simile, or we can say the similarity. For example, if we compare two things and look at the similarity between those two things, would be called as simile. For example, if we say uh, the baby's skin is as soft as the cotton. So we are comparing the baby skin to the cotton, and the similarity is that it is very soft. So that is the example of simile. The other would be the light is as bright as the sun. So we are comparing these two things and taking the similarity out of it. That would be called as simile. So this Vatthupama would be cloth and simile. So it is a upma of the Vattha, which is the simile of the cloth. And from the name of the sutta, now we can guess what the sutta would be about. This simile is about a cloth and comparing it to the mind. So the main idea of the sutta is the impurities of the mind, all the negativities and the impurities and the corruptions which in our mind, they are compared to a dirty cloth. If the mind is clean, it would be a clean cloth. The location is the Savatthi. In the previous classes, we have seen the importance of Savatthi, which is a place where Buddha spent his 25 years of his life after enlightenment. Buddha taught for actually total of 45 years, teaching his knowledge, teaching his insight. And out of those 45 years, he spent 25 years at this place called Savatthi. Savatthi at the time of Buddha was a very big place. It was the capital of the kingdom called as Kosala. And some of the researchers say that Savatthi at that time, during the time of Buddha, had 80,000 villages and had the population in millions and millions. During the time of Buddha and the Savatthi, there were two monasteries. One monastery, which is this sutta is taken, most of the Majjhima Nikaya sutta has been given in the Anathapindika's monastery. This Vatthupama sutta is also given in the Anathapindika's monastery. So this was one of the monastery which was donated by Anathapindak. He was we have seen in the previous classes that he was the foremost lay disciple of Buddha. He bought the land from the Jaita prince and the king Pasenadi. He built a monastery and then donated to the Buddha and the Sangha. That was the one monastery. And in that monastery, Buddha has spent 19 years in Anathapindak monastery. But there was one more famous monastery. It was built by Visakha. And Buddha had spent almost 6 years in the monastery, which was donated by Visakha. So 19 years in Anathapindak's monastery and 6 years in monastery donated by Visakha, 6 years. So that comes to 25 years, and that's why we say Buddha has spent 25 years in Savatthi. So, and the Savatthi actually was very famous at that time because imagine the land where several monks and nuns, they became Arhant. So who's Arhant? Arhant is a worthy person, a being who have reached the stage of perfection, enlightenment. That is a final stage in those whatever we call as the path level. That is the final level attained called as Arhant. Arhant had abandoned and he removes all the impurities and he is the pure one. After practicing the path and the teaching, he have achieved the perfect virtue, the perfect wisdom, and is free from all bondages, free from the cycle of birth and death. So let's start the sutta where Buddha is saying, starting with the sutta, Buddha says, suppose there is a cloth that is dirty and stained. No matter what dye the dyer applied, whether blue or yellow or red or magenta, it would look poorly dyed and impure in color. Why is that? Because of the impurity of the cloth. So Buddha is saying here, imagine a cloth that is, if we have seen this cloth, that is extremely dirty and there are patches and stains on it. And someone, if he is trying to dye it with the different colors, doesn't matter what the color is, whether red or blue, but since the cloth is very impure, of course after the application of the dye it would look poorly dyed. It will not be pure and it will not absorb the color so nicely, because to begin with the cloth was very impure. We can also take the example of our hairs. In the beginning, our hairs is very black and so shiny, but after a certain age, our hairs become gray and white, and then we try to give it different colors, maybe black or brown or reddish. But if we try to give color or the dye to our hairs, if it is not clean and it is not free of the previous colors that we gave it before, and we put different colors on it, then the new color would not be absorbed so nicely. It would not look that clearly. Some of the patches would be black and some of the other colors you applied later. Likewise, here we can consider that the quality of the cloth. So he's saying when the mind is dirty, that means our qualities would be not good, our actions would not be good, and therefore there would be always we can expect the bad consequences out of it, because if the mind is not clean, our actions cannot be clean, and that's why the consequences cannot be clean. Now we are comparing the second cloth. Tathagat Buddha is saying that suppose there's a cloth that is pure and clean. No matter what dye the dyer applied, whether blue or yellow or red or magenta, it would look well dyed and pure in color. Why is that? Because of the purity of the cloth. Now suppose the cloth is very clean and bright to begin with, and if the dyer is applying any colors on it, it will still look very beautiful and very nice. It will absorb the color very nicely and thoroughly, because to begin with the cloth was very pure, and therefore it can absorb the new color, whatever color you put on it. So here Buddha is actually targeting the question is this, that why the mind is defiled. And he compares that the mind, that when the mind is clean, the actions would be good, and therefore the consequences can also be good. That's why he believes in making your mind so pure that that's how your actions would be very good. So he's targeting the question now, why the mind is defiled. So we'll see the second slide from here. Tathagat is saying there are 16 impurities or the 16 corruptions that defiles the mind. In this Vatthupama Sutta, they are discussing about the 16 impurities. There are different suttas in which they describe about 3 kilesas or 6, 5. There are different numbers, or 108 defilements also. There are different suttas, and they go and they subcategorize and subdivide into different parts. But in this Vatthupama Sutta, it's totally focused on the 16 impurities, the main impurities that can defile the mind. And we will go one by one. The first you can see is the covetousness and the immoral greed. In some of the suttas, in the text, actually, they have also used the word as unrighteous greed for the immoral word. Some of the text you will see that they use the word unrighteous greed. The first one, covetous and immoral or unrighteous greed, is the desire to attachment, to have possessions. If you see the dictionary meaning of covetousness, they would say it's a desire to possess something belonging to someone else. So it's attachment to any possessions, that having that strong desire to possess something. It could be object, it could be anything, and becoming greedy for it. That excessive desire to have things much more than what is needed would be called as covetousness and immoral greed. The next is ill will, which is bitterness or dislike. If you do not like a person saying something to you, if he's not saying good words to you, and or maybe if he's just saying, expressing his views, and we do not agree with him, then we become a little bit of displeased with that person and with the thought, and we might develop ill will. So that's the second one. Third is anger. Anger, the Pali word for anger is kodh, and the Sanskrit or Hindi we can say is krodh. I think we all know the explanation of anger, because each one of us in a lifetime, sometime or the other time, we experience that angerness. We get angry with the situation or object or even a person if he's saying something to us. So it's emotion or a feeling that is bursting out from inside, and therefore we can develop anger toward that person or object or condition. The next is hostility. Hostility is defined as hatred or malice. So this anger, it is a type of anger, but a stronger anger. A stronger anger, which is called as hatred, that we have the intention to hurt that person, that falls into the category of hostility. The next is a disdain. Disdain is to look down on someone. For example, if a person is highly knowledgeable, but there could be more other people who are, they also knowledgeable, but this person, instead of being appreciative for their knowledge, he might think that I know more than him, I know more than remaining people, and he would look down on those people. Sometimes we might develop more pride or excessive pride about what we know, about what we have. So that is disdain. The next is contempt. Contempt is a feeling that a person is worthless, other person is worthless, and he is being disrespectful for the other person. So if someone is helping a needy person, but after taking help from him, instead of appreciating him and being thankful to him that he helped me in some way, this person is saying that, oh no, whatever I did is just because of me, my success, my accomplishment, and everything is all because of me, not because of your help. So that would be called as a contempt. The next is jealousy or envy. Means not becoming happy with others' happiness, but we become jealous, or we develop envy. So the example would be if someone get a new house or a new job, so we, instead of being happy on his achievements, on that person getting a new job or a new house, we might develop the feeling that, oh, he got it, or why didn't I get it? So we are developing the jealousy and envy. The next is stinginess, which is miserliness or keeping to ourselves or not sharing with others. If we have a lot of things, it could be anything, wealth, money, food, clothes, or anything, and we have abundance of it. We have in larger quantity, and there is someone who is in need of those things, but we don't want to share with them. Even a little quantity also we do not want to share with them. That would fall in the category of stinginess or miserliness. The next is deceit, which is deception or being deceptive. For example, if a person is getting something done, but by telling a lie, he's not doing the right thing, and he's telling the lies and getting the things done. And on the top of that, he also wishes that no other person should be able to find out the truth. So that would be called as deceit or deception. The next is deviousness, which is cunning or achieving things in a dishonest way. Here the person is doing some action in a cunning way, not in a good way, and his whole purpose is to get that action done, to get that thing done. It doesn't matter to him whether he is doing that action in a good way or in a wrong way, or in an appropriate way, or a crooked way. To finish his task, he just wanted to get that done. Even if it is a wrong way, he would still accept that. So that falls into this deviousness. The next is obstinacy. Obstinacy would be called as stubbornness or unwilling to consider others' opinion. A person might sometimes thinks that this opinion that or my opinion is right, and he do not agree with others opinions. He don't want to even listen or get suggestions from him or other views. He just believe in himself. That would be fall in the category of obstinacy. It's not about having confidence in him, but he don't want to even listen to others views also. So that would be obstinacy. And the next is aggression. Aggression means you become so aggressive that you might develop that violent behavior inside us. A forceful action, which could be physical or psychological, with the intention of dominating others. In some situation, we are even ready to attack that person. That would be called as aggression. The next is conceit, which is excessive pride or ego. We have ego some or the other time, maybe of beauty. Someone is very beautiful, someone is looking very, very good, or someone is very intelligent, and or maybe one person is extremely rich, other person have luxurious anything of that. So sometimes we develop that excessive pride that would fall into the category of conceit. The next is arrogance. Arrogance is superiority complex, showing off that I'm much, much better than the other person. That would fall into the category of arrogance. The next is vanity, which is self-centeredness. It is a state of mind in which a person is intoxicated with whatever he has, whether it is things or his own life, but he is so much attached to those things or himself that he gets intoxicated into that. So he might develop the feeling of vanity. And the last 16th is the negligence, which is heedlessness or lack of care. It is said that the person negligent, the Pali word would be called as pamada, and he doesn't have any awareness or he don't care. But in Buddhism, we say that it is extremely important to give away the negligence, because we have to be so diligent, we have to be so careful in following the precepts, in understanding and getting all those impurities washed off. So these are the 16 impurities we have seen so far. Now let's go further. Now, after listening to this, the all the monks and the remaining in this audience, along with the monks, there are different other lay disciples also for this Vatthupama Sutta. There are several people listening to also. Now they are understanding and listening that, oh, these are the 16 defilements of the body, of the mind. Buddha is telling the steps. Now, first he told the defilements, all the impurities. Now he is telling how to get rid of all those defilements. The first step is very important step is that you should know. One thus knows that covetousness, unrighteous greed, all the defilements we have seen, they should first understand that this is a defilement of the body, or the defilement of the mind. That is the first step. Now, second, once he knows, then he realizes that these are the corruptions of the mind. The next important step he would take is he will try to abandon it. He will try to remove it, to eliminate it. And the third steps, it would be abandoning all the impurities of the mind. When one knows that all the impurities of the mind have been abandoned, have been removed, so he will gain unwavering confidence in the Buddha, in the Dhamma, and the Sangha. So when we say unwavering confidence in Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, why it is mentioned in the text that he will have those confidence in the triple gem? Because he is the one who is teaching us, he's telling us this doctrine that we need to get rid of the defilements. We need to get our mind so pure so that we can practice this path and attain liberation, to get free from all the suffering. And his teaching is so beautiful. So one develops this unwavering confidence and inspiration in the wonderful qualities of the Buddha. So we focus on those 9 virtuous qualities which we explain in the Buddha Vandana. So they are mentioning those wonderful qualities here rather than one person, but they are believing in those wonderful qualities, and in the Dhamma also. The Dhamma which is immediately effective and it's visible right in here. And Dhamma is so nice. Your Buddha is not telling you to blindly believe it. He's not telling you to believe what your teacher says, or what the tradition is being you're following, all the rites and the rituals you have been following. But when you come into the Dhamma, you have to ask the questions, you have to gain that confidence. Once you realize that it is the right teaching, then only you go further. So we might develop, once someone says this and we have confidence in that, we develop the faith and the inspiration in those wonderful qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. And then when we follow the path, then only we can get liberated. It also says that he develops the confidence in the Sangha. The Sangha is not actually the community, the monastic community which have the monks and the nun, but all the noble ones, all the purified ones who are walking on this path and have attained some meditative absorption or the fruits of the path. So now further he's saying that once we get rid of the defilements, we will try to abandon it. And now our mind is completely free from all those impurities. We will have unwavering confidence or the faith in the triple gem. Then what happens to the person? Imagine a person who's getting rid of all those 16 defilements. His mind is so pure. He will be gladdened. He will be so happy just with the realization that is free from all those impurities. His mind is so pure, so fresh, and so clean. He will be gladdened. The joy is born in him, and being joyous in mind, his body becomes tranquil. His body being tranquil, and he feels happiness. He feels that pleasure inside him. His mind is so calm now that he becomes concentrated, because when we sit for the meditation, the concentration is extremely important. But if we are getting all those impurities in our mind, we will not be able to concentrate at all. Those several thoughts would be coming to our mind. In the previous classes also, we have seen the Bhairava Sutta, how to overcome fear. Fear is also one which comes when we sit for meditation. And all these 16 defilements, not all the 16 defilements, maybe we are much higher and one of the defilement and one of them is suppressed. So, but some of the thoughts will still trigger in our minds. It will still be lingering in our mind, and therefore we will not be able to concentrate at all. But here, when all we get rid of all those defilements, none of the single defilement is in our mind, and our mind is pure, and having the triple gem faith, then definitely our mind will be so concentrated because of the happiness, that realization that we are so pure. Just as a cloth that is stained and dirty becomes clean and bright with the help of pure water. The cloth is the mind, and the stains and the dirty patches on the cloth is like the impurities which we are carrying, the negative thoughts and the negative qualities we are carrying. And the mind is becoming clean and bright, just like the cloth. And this pure water is the teaching that we will be following, the practicing meditation and following the dana, seal, and the bhavna. That's how we cultivate our mind also. So dan is generous, being generous to everyone. Don't leave a single opportunity of helping anyone. If a person comes with the help, just be generous in helping them in every single way. That also develops our mind, our actually conduct, behavior also. And the second factor is dana, seal, bhavna. Second is seal. Seal is the precepts. Before the meditation, we say all the precepts of the seal, the pancha seal. There are 7 seal, 8, 8 seal, 10 seal, and there are several seal. When we follow those precepts in a disciplined way, we will see that our meditation is also helping so many ways, because then impurity is going away and we are following those precepts. We are following the perfect conduct, the perfect behavior, and the nature. And the last is bhavna. Bhavna means meditation. So this is complete all these 3 things. When we have follow dana, seal, and bhavna, then how we can cultivate ourselves and be pure and liberated. So here the Tathagata is saying, the person now, one with such virtue, such wisdom, abides, having suffused with a mind of loving kindness. He abides, having suffused with a mind of compassion, of sympathetic joy and equanimity. These 4 words, the loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, or altruistic joy and equanimity, these are metta, karuna, mudita, and upekka. In the Tipitaka it says that the first is loving kindness, which is metta. Metta is a feeling that we wish that may all beings in the universe be well, may all beings be happy, may all beings be peaceful. Remember in the chanting, on January 1st, we did the Karniya Metta Sutta, that is the loving kindness. It is a type of meditation also, which we just have the feelings for every single sentient beings, not only to the human beings, but to the birds, animals, and every single being in the universe. We have the feeling of goodness. Wishing happiness for every single being. Because of this practice, we overcome the hatred and the ill will. We overcome 2 or 3 factors from the 16 impurities we just saw. So that meditation also helps a lot, the loving kindness meditation. And the second is the compassion. The compassion is karuna. It's like empathy, having the quality of feeling towards the people who are suffering. And compassionate people will always have the attitude of helping people to come out of their suffering. We will always be ready to help them, because each human being, like we, do not like to suffer. None of the single being in the universe never likes to suffer. Every single person want to be happy in some way. Then how can we expect that other person would like pain? No, he would also like to be happy. Then we should be always aware, like we ourselves want to be happy, every single person want to be happy, every single being want to be happy, and we strive to make them happy, to have the feeling that everyone should be happy. And the third is sympathetic joy. Some of the texts says it altruistic joy. So that is mudita, means being happy in others' happiness. If someone is better than us, then we should be happy rather than being jealous or envy. So in that way, we also overcome the one of the impurities, which we have seen, the jealous and the envy. So when we are happy, if someone achieves something, whether it could be anything, his achievement, his success, his accomplishment, we should be happy in that person. We should rejoice in his happiness as well. That will also help that person and ourselves also. And the last is the equanimity. Equanimity is upekka, means maintaining the balance. Whatever happens in life, accept it and not get carried away, whether it is happiness or whether it is sadness. Whatever condition we come across in our life, we should be balanced. We should maintain the equanimity, maintaining the inner peace in every situation. So this equanimity, there is one complete chapter dedicated to this equanimity. There are different suttas. One of the sutta is in the Anguttara Nikaya, called as the Loka Vipatti Sutta. And there Buddha is saying that there are 8 worldly conditions, like pleasure, pain, gain and loss, fame, defame, praise or blame. These are the 8 worldly conditions. If we come across with these conditions in our life, we should be still maintain the equanimity. We should still be maintain our balance, our mind. Sometimes if someone praises us, we feel so happy. But if someone is blaming us, we get angry towards that person. So here it is suggested that whether it is praise or blame, whether we are getting famous or not famous, whether we are getting the feelings of pleasure, or whether it is pain or suffering also, or profit or loss, whether it is, whatever the condition is, just maintain that equanimity. Don't get too much overwhelmed with happiness, and do not get overwhelmed with the sadness also. So when now further Buddha is saying that when a person knows and sees in this way, his mind becomes liberated from greed, from hatred and delusion or ignorance. And when liberated, there's a knowledge, he understands that he is liberated. Such a monk is called one bathed with the inner bathing. So one bathed in the inner bathing means now this person is getting rid of all the defilements, not a single defilement in him. He's free from all the impurities. He has complete faith in the triple gem, and he's also maintaining metta, karuna, mudita, and upeka. How wonderful that feeling will be. He is just full of nicest things now. None of the single impurity is there. So he is taking a bath in himself with the purity, with that perfect wisdom, with that perfect knowledge and the perfect virtue. So in that audience, along with the monks, there was this person. His name was Sundarika Bharadwaj. He hears the word. He is hearing the word that bathing. So his ears got flicked up, and he says that he, after listening to Buddha, he's saying that Tathagat, you are so pure. He's feeling in his mind that Tathagat is so pure. Maybe he is taking a bath in the Bahuka river. Why is having those thoughts at that moment when Tathagat is saying that? Because Sundarika Bharadwaj, his entire life, he believed that a person can do any evil things, can do the negative things, bad things, but his all the sins would be washed off by taking a bath in the holy river. His generation, his family, his entire generation believed that. So he did not believe in the precepts, but he believed that whatever he's free to do whatever sins he can, and then he will go and take a bath in the river, and all his sins will be washed off. And but when he's listening to the Buddha and he's saying that Buddha is such a pure one and he do not have a single impurity in him, definitely he must be taking a bath in the river. And that's why he's asking to the Master Gautama that, Master Gautama, did you go to the Bahuka river to take a bath? From the text, it seems that Bahuka river must be very famous during the time of the Buddha. And there are different rivers and the streams also mentioned in the suttas, that Bahuka, Adhikakka, Gaya, Payag, Saraswati, and the stream Bahumati. So these were the rivers and the streams were famous at that time. So he is asking to the Master Gautama that, did you take a bath? So Tathagat is saying, what can the Bahuka river do? One evil doer, if he goes into those famous rivers also, forever, if they take a bath, 24 hours, 7 days a week, if he takes a bath, he will not purify his deeds, his bad deeds. He will not be able to purify his sins. They cannot purify an evildoer, a man performing brutal and cruel acts. But the one who is pure in heart, the one who is pure in mind, who does good deeds, and his precepts are good, and his observances perfect all times, it is here that you should bathe in purity, bathe in your pure mind, pure heart, free from all defilements. And one day that Sundarika Bharadwaj, after listening to this, he became a monk, and later, after practicing all this meditation and following the teaching and the Dhamma, he became one of the Arhants. So that's the end of the sutta. They say that remove the impurities, purify the mind, and just dwell in the metta, karuna, mudita, and upekha. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Archana.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Archana. It's a beautiful. So, anybody has any questions? So it's if you look at analyze, if you think a little bit, it can be called the psychology of Buddhism. If you look at all the 16 impurities that the Buddha listed, this all are in our mind, in our thoughts, in our consciousness. So perhaps the Buddha was aware those impurities in our psyche when he was struggling in his on the path to enlightenment. I mean, when he was meditating deeply also. Similar thing also everyone, whether even though the sutta is targeted audience was the monks, except the one Brahmin, Sundarika. This Brahmin appears couple of other suttas too, in Sutta Nipatas and some other suttas too. Perhaps there are two Brahmins with the same name, because we do have with the same name so many people too. Because he came from the Brahmin families, obviously the ritual of bathing was important in the Brahmin families to purify the external purity stuff, which is a kind of very contradictory in Buddha's teaching. While he was listening to the teachings of the Buddha, while he was teaching to the monks, obviously he was very much impressed, but at the same time, he could not think of beyond what he was taught, maybe what he was told to believe, which is if you want to purify, you need to go to the river or any kind of water to purify itself. So the purity was not much emphasized maybe in the Brahmin society at the time. Any questions?
Vandava Bhanteji, this is Naxin from India. Thank you, Archana, for excellent presentation. Just one clarification or guidance, like how to build the compassion.
Yes, go ahead, Bhanteji.
Building compassion, it's if you do even the smallest thing every day, what we call sometimes everyday kindness or everyday compassion, if you generate a seed of something, caring for someone or giving us some kind of small advices, even a beautiful smile to the stranger. So, and this will, this is one of the many ways that we create compassion also. We make a storehouse of compassion. Sometimes suddenly we cannot give our compassion, so which is why we have to make slowly develop full compassion. So beginning with in the morning, if you wake up, if you have a family, if you have a kids, a wife or husband, in the case of women, sense of small gentle hug, sense of small gentle careness, begin the day, and this will give you good positive vibe also from the recipient also. And this is how you build the compassion. So obviously, when you have a larger context, whether it's in the field of politics or in the field of social corruptions, those also the larger issues that when we start the small step with the compassion from your house, that eventually build to the society also and then to the nation. So can't see anybody raise the questions. And then self-compassion also important. Sometimes people focus too much because of religion, because of sense of responsibility, we tend to focus a lot of giving attention, compassion to the other people too, that we neglect to give compassion to ourselves. So we all should begin with the self-compassion, that is caring our body, caring our mind, to be gentle, to be kind to our body, our mind, then extend to your family, to loved ones, to the teachers, etc., and then eventually to all living beings.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
That we can end the session. So, but it's always beautiful to study Sutta. Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm sure with these 6-7 suttas, we have learned so much.